How football takes control of your feelings. Last Sunday, a grown man in Manchester cried into his hands for 20 minutes, not because someone died, not because he lost his job, because 11 people he's never met failed to put a ball into a net. And here's what's strange. His brain chemistry in that moment was identical to someone experiencing actual grief. Same cortisol spike, same dopamine crash. His body couldn't tell the difference between watching his team lose and losing something that actually mattered in his life. Which raises an uncomfortable question. When you're watching football, who's really in control? You probably think you're just a fan, someone who enjoys the game. But there's a reason why a study from the University of Valencia found that testosterone levels in male fans drop by up to 20% after their team loses. The same drop you'd see after a personal defeat or public humiliation. Your body is responding as if you lost, as if you failed. And it's not random. Everything about how football is designed, broadcast, and marketed is built to hack into the emotional control center of your brain. Let me show you something that'll make you question every match you've ever watched.
The manipulation starts before kickoff. You settle into your seat or your couch, and within seconds, you hear it. The rising orchestral music, the montage of last week's drama, the slow-motion close-ups of players looking intense. This isn't accidental background noise. Production teams studied film techniques from thriller movies because they discovered something crucial. Your brain can't distinguish between scripted drama and real events when the presentation is identical. When you watch that pre-match build-up, your amygdala, the brain's emotional processor, activates exactly as it would during a suspense film. You're being primed, your heart rate increases, your attention narrows. You're entering what psychologists call a heightened emotional state before the game even starts. And once you're in that state, you're vulnerable to every emotional swing that follows. But it gets deeper than production tricks. There's a neurological phenomenon called mirror neurons that scientists discovered accidentally in the 1990s. Researchers at the University of Parma were studying macaque monkeys when they noticed something bizarre. The same neurons fired in the monkey's brain whether it performed an action or watched another monkey perform it. The brain was mirroring the experience. Humans have this too, but our mirror neuron system is far more sophisticated. When you watch a striker sprint toward goal, your motor cortex lights up as if you're running. When a player gets fouled, your pain centers activate. You're not just watching football, your brain is playing football. Neuroscientist Christian Keezers found that this mirroring effect is so strong that watching sports activates up to 20% of the same neural pathways as actually playing. That's why your muscles tense during a penalty shootout. Your brain thinks you're taking the shot.
Now, here's where this gets uncomfortable. Sports organizations know about this, and they've weaponized it. Take goal celebrations. Ever notice how they've become increasingly theatrical over the past 2 decades? That's not players being spontaneous. Clubs actually coach celebration choreography because extended celebrations create longer dopamine releases in viewers' brains. The longer you watch your team celebrate, the more addictive the reward becomes. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation, doesn't spike when something good happens. It spikes in anticipation of something good. That's why the moments before a goal, when the ball is traveling toward the net, produce higher dopamine levels than the goal itself. Your brain is essentially gambling, and it's designed to keep you coming back for that anticipatory high. The Premier League understood this when they restructured match scheduling. Games are now distributed across the entire weekend, creating what behavioral economists call variable reward schedules, the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You don't know exactly when the excitement will come, so you keep watching, keep checking scores, keep your attention locked on football for days rather than just 90 minutes. Here's something that happened in Barcelona that nobody talks about. After their 2019 Champions League semifinal collapse against Liverpool, hospitals in Catalonia reported a 30% increase in cardiac incidents within 2 hours of the final whistle. 30%. The British Heart Foundation has documented similar spikes after major England matches. Your emotional investment in football isn't just psychological, it's physically dangerous. But you keep watching. Why?
Because football has figured out how to exploit your tribal psychology in ways that bypass rational thinking entirely. Humans evolved in small groups where tribal identity meant survival. If you weren't part of the group, you died. That ancient circuitry is still active in your brain, and football clubs trigger it deliberately. When you wear a team jersey, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical released between mothers and newborns, between romantic partners. Your brain is forming an attachment to a corporation selling you merchandise. Social psychologist Henry Tajfel demonstrated this in his famous minimal group experiments. He could create strong group loyalty and out-group hostility by something as arbitrary as showing people different abstract paintings and telling them they were on a team with others who preferred the same painting. Nothing meaningful, just random grouping. Yet people would discriminate in favor of their group immediately. Football takes this minimal group effect and supercharges it with geography, family tradition, shared suffering, and decades of invested time. You're not making a choice to support a team. The choice is making you. Studies from the University of Utah found that fans watching their team play show decreased activity in brain regions associated with empathy toward the opposing team. You literally lose the ability to empathize with the other side. Your brain has been hijacked into an us versus them mentality that you wouldn't accept in any other context. Think about that. You probably consider yourself a rational person. Yet put you in front of a screen showing 22 people kicking a ball, and your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logical thinking, partially shuts down. The emotional centers take over. You're operating on instinct, not reason.
And it's not stopping at game time anymore. Modern football has created a 24/7 emotional ecosystem. Transfer windows, injury updates, manager press conferences, social media feuds between players, fantasy leagues that make you emotionally invested in dozens of players beyond your team. The sport has evolved into a never-ending narrative designed to keep your attention captured every single day. Netflix engineers famously said their biggest competitor isn't other streaming services, it's sleep. Football has adopted the same philosophy. There's a reason matches now kick off at times designed to capture Asian and American markets simultaneously. Clubs release content across time zones to ensure that no matter when you wake up, there's something new to pull you back in. Your attention is the product. Your emotional investment is what makes that product valuable. And the system is designed to maximize both without you ever noticing the architecture behind it. But here's what I find most fascinating. Knowing all of this doesn't make you immune to it. I've researched this topic for weeks, interviewed sports psychologists, read dozens of neuroscience papers, and I still felt my heart racing during the last match I watched. Information doesn't equal immunity. These mechanisms are working at a level below conscious awareness.
So what do you do with this? I'm not going to tell you to stop watching football. That would be both unrealistic and missing the point. The question isn't whether you should engage with something that manipulates your emotions. Everything does. Movies manipulate you. Music manipulates you. Advertising, social media, the news, all of it is designed to trigger emotional responses. The question is whether you're aware of it happening, because awareness changes everything. When you notice your mood ruined after a loss, you can recognize it as a neurological response to stimuli, not a reflection of anything meaningful in your life. When you feel that surge of hatred toward opposing fans, you can identify it as triggered tribal psychology, not a rational assessment of other human beings. When you're about to spend money on merchandise or a subscription, you can pause and ask whether you're making a choice or responding to manufactured attachment. The power isn't in rejecting football. The power is in watching it with your eyes open, understanding that every emotional high and low has been engineered, that your feelings, while real, are being deliberately provoked by an industry that profits from your psychological vulnerability. Maybe that makes you enjoy it less, or maybe it makes you enjoy it more, appreciating it as the sophisticated emotional manipulation it is. But at least you'll know who's really in control when that ball starts rolling, and that knowledge might be the only defense you have.